Can we go?
Probably.
Thank you for attending tonight. I'd like to ask you to please silence your phones during the meeting and stand with me while I ask Chief Page to set our invocation tonight.
Heavenly Father, God, we come to you, Lord, we ask you to give the scripture tonight, Lord, and make decisions that are honoring to you and the benefit of our city. God, we just thank you for all the things you do for us. Watch these folks as they go home tonight, keep them safe. In precious son's name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Most of you can tell I'm having a little bit of trouble with my voice tonight, but on our items of interest, there's been some changes to the Jim Bowie Rodeo, which this is Jim Bowie Rodeo Week. Now I'd like to ask Councilwoman Higgins to give us the update.
The barrel race that was supposed to happen tonight has been postponed to July 18th. It will coincide with the Community Development Board's Red, Whites, and Brews celebration, so we'll have both of those going on out at the community center area on the 18th. The youth rodeo for Tuesday and Wednesday night has been moved to the Monte County Cowboy Church covered arena. They sit on higher ground and it's draining much better. We've hauled out a bunch of dirt, hauled in some more dirt, but it's just too soupy to risk our contestants and their animals. So we're going to vote for the safety of all of our contestants and their treasured animals and move it to the Cowboy Church. Things right now is planned to have the rest of the Jim Bowie Day celebration as posted here in Bowie in the rodeo arena and in the community center for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. If you're a rodeo fan, we have several NFR contestants that have signed up for our little rodeo, so it should be quite a show.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Higgins. Next, I'll open up the floor to public comments. If we have any public comments, now would be the time. Yes, ma'am. Mildred?
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to say this.
Oh, go to the podium.
Mr. Cunningham doesn't think that I can speak loud enough, but here is a position that I can speak both to the council and to our public. I haven't been to council for a number of times because of the pandemic, and number one, because of my, you might say, senility, and discussing with the insurance adjuster why they will not pay for the tree damage that are close to the house, and if it fell on the structure and caused damage, they wouldn't pay for it. So, I'd like to say this. I would like to thank all of the volunteers, the city staff, for all the hard work and volunteerism that they have done through this time. Living alone like I do, I have a lot of time to think. Sometimes it's good, sometimes not so good. And I can remember the time when I, in my professional life, was so down in the dumps that I didn't know what I was going to be able to do. I know many of our businesses and our citizens have been in up and down situation through these last couple of years. This storm, hopefully, all the damage can be a turning point to say that together we can all work together and rebuild our, not mine, but our community and make it stronger. During that time that I was earlier telling you about, I was in East Texas, and if you've ever been in East Texas, and it's dark and there's no stars in the sky, and there's an awe of saying, God, I need your guidance. And then all of a sudden, from the creek area came the call of the whippoorwill. Where there is a will, there is a way. Where there is a will, there is a way. So I'm encouraging you all, when you feel there is no way you can go forward, remember those calls that I've heard of quicker will. For there is a will, there is a way. Another instance, have anybody ever thought about what BOWIE stands for? A number of years ago, we came up with an acronym. B, businesses. O, opportunity. W, workforce. I, industry. E, education. BOWIE has all of those ingredients. So I'm asking all, with myself included, that we work as a team so that we can rebuild BOWIE and make it strong again. Thank you.
Thank you, Mildred. Okay, at this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to the city manager for city manager report.
These are not in order on they are on the agenda, so I did them as I thought of them. I got an email from Ted Christensen with Government Capital Securities. As you recall, we were talking about refinancing the bonds for the community center, and we got some good news. Interest rates fell to 1.9%, and we locked that in, and the savings have been driven up from what we thought before was going to be $122,000 in interest savings to $136,748 in interest savings. So that'll be equivalent to about $13,000 and change interest per year that we'll be saving because of that. And we'll have that on the next agenda for y'all to vote for. I've been in discussions with an organization called the Nature Conservancy about purchasing water from the city, where all we have to do is release the water downstream. They're having a contract drawn up as we speak. I'll show you that just as soon as I get it. They want to buy, if y'all would recall, about 360 acre feet of water over the next 5 years, per year over the next 5 years. The contract will have a lower limit, lake level. If the lake reaches a drought stage, then they will not be able to take water from the lake. It's a pay or take contract, or so I'm told, which means if they don't take any water, they still have to pay us for it. I've been consulting with Hayter Engineering. Mike Tibbetts with Hayter has quite a bit of experience. He did his master's thesis on this subject, and he's been giving me advice about the contract and what we should do. The only thing that I can see is that we might have problems with is the lake level that they want to go down to, and we don't want to go down that far. So I'm sure that's going to be a point of negotiation, and I've informed them of that it's probably a little bit low, that's too low for us to go for. But anyway, based on what we're seeing, we'd get 4 payments a year of $10,000 a quarter, plus one payment of $75,000, which would be $115,000 a year for releasing that water. Like I said, they're doing the contract right now, and as soon as I get that, I'll inform each of you of what's going on and what it looks like. I've made application to the Texas Division of Emergency Management for the coronavirus relief funds. They're distributing funds at the rate of $55 per capita. We can get a total of $282,535, but you have to make application for that with paid invoices showing money that you spent. We'll get the first 20% allocation of that without having to prove anything, which is $56,507. But as we have been spending money for any kind of coronavirus expenses,
then we'll be able to send those invoices in and get paid for that too. I've not added up, how much we spent, but it's not going to be a whole lot of money. Hand sanitizer, mask. Doug's department probably has had as much expense as anybody, and so anyway, anything that fits that realm, we'll make application for. Since the tornado hit, I've been trying to apply for grant money to help us with the tornado damage and cleanup. According to the Grant Works Company, there are no federal or state grants available at this time. Janice Crawley is also pursuing grants through the economic development grants. I started to say that's it, but this afternoon, the mayor sent me an email that she got from the Texas General Land Office, who had already told me that there wasn't any money available, soliciting grant applications for the same thing I've been applying for. So I'm getting mixed messages from the Texas General Land Office, but I've sent a couple of emails, one to Grant Works and one to another gentleman that has been helping with that, and hopefully I'll get some good news that the grants are available. I don't know if we'll get any or not, but I'm sure going to try to do that. I've instructed our department heads to lower spending as the cost of the tornado damage and cleanup are tapping into our budgets. All of this is going to be very expensive, and this attitude will be reflected when you see our budget for next year. It'll be a bare bones budget where the only capital spending we will do is payments on notes on the equipment project we borrowed money for over the last couple of years. Even though a lot of damage is insured, we will still see a shortage of funds. It's going to be very expensive, so we're planning on a lean year ahead. Schneider Engineering has finished our cost of service study, even though there were some areas where we needed a rate increase and some areas where we needed a rate decrease. The rates that we're using right now are adequate, and there's no need for a rate increase, especially with what our citizens just went through with the tornado damage. We might look at some change in rates later on in the year, but not now. Work is progressing on the charter, as the Charter Commission has had their second meeting last Thursday. They've gone over sections 1, part of section 2 and section 3. There's been some very good discussions. They have made some great suggestions for changes that will clarify items in the charter. Based on their work so far, this is a great group of people, and I'm sure that we will come out of this process with a charter document that will work better and be a great tool for city government, and a document that citizens will vote for. Any questions?
Nothing? All right, let's move on to item 7, consent agenda items. The approval for the minutes and for the resolutions authorizing the city manager to do the write-offs for both utilities and library are there.
So moved.
Mr. Malone, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bell? Buckmaster?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Malone?
Aye.
Bell? Higgins? All right. With that, we're going to move on to section 8, which is new business and discussion or action to appoint a counselor to fill the unexpired term of Thomas Kemp, ending this November 20th for Precinct 1 North. We have, as you know, 3 applicants. You have those were in your packet: Thomas Kemp, Laura Hefley, and Tawni Jones.
I thought Tawni was disqualified.
I didn't take her off because I didn't have it in writing, so I didn't take it off.
Hey, in regards to that, what's the reason for disqualification?
She filed a request for
Homestead.
homestead exemption in Clay County, and received it, and somebody sent us a copy of it, and our office staff checked it, and sure enough, there's a homestead exemption. So with the homestead exemption, her official home site is in Clay County. So
Let me go back to our chart just real quick in regards to that. I'm not sure that necessarily there, just based on a homestead exemption by itself. If we go to our charter, so I kind of took it on myself when I kind of heard about that, kind of did a little research. So our charter just says, as far as qualifications, it says the mayor and each member of the council must at the time of taking office have resided in the city for a time required by law and otherwise qualified according to the laws of the state of Texas. So with that, it's kind of vague as far as that. So I went to the election code, which is 141.001 subsection A5, where it just says that to be eligible to be a candidate for or elected or appointed to either public elected office in the state, it says 5 says have resided continuously in the state for 12 months in a territory from which the office is elected for 6 months immediately preceding the following day. And so in this case we refer to E, which is for an appointment, appointment of an office, the appointment date is made. So there's nothing in there that essentially says that would necessarily disqualify her, because I know there's times where you have individuals that they'll have a home, you have a married couple or something like that, and they'll have homestead exemptions basically for tax purposes, but they reside in another area. So don't know necessarily that just that on itself would necessarily disqualify them from being an applicant here. Now, what at that point in time, you can still interview and so forth and determine which you want to go in that direction, but I don't know if that necessarily, just having a homestead exemption on its face necessarily disqualifies them from actually applying for the position.
Well, it's my understanding, based on the election law that you're referring to, that the only way to do that is for someone to challenge them in district court.
Correct.
So
that's correct. So when they fill out the paperwork here, this declaration here, they're essentially saying, "Hey, I am a resident of this area," and you are correct. That at that point in time, if there is a discrepancy or there's a challenge, then it needs to be challenged with the court to basically give court orders that no, they're not. They don't reside there. So you're right.
that's what I based it on. So.
Well, that isn't why her name was still left on here. So, at this time, I would entertain a motion for a position, for someone to fill this position.
I'll move that we nominate, or that we appoint Thomas Kent as counselor for the North Ward, I guess, precinct 1.
Okay, so I have a nomination from Buckmaster. Motion. Do I have a second? No second, it's going to die from a no second. Do I have another nomination?
I'll nominate Laura Hefley.
Higgins nominates Laura Hefley. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, Chuck, it's all you, bud.
You can be quiet.
Okay, I'm going to put Love down.
Scaring us.
All right, so Malone,
Aye.
Bell, Love,
Aye.
Higgins,
Aye.
Buckmaster.
No.
Okay, well, at this point, then we will ask Ms. Hefley to come forward so that we can swear her into office.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas. I, Laura Hefley. I, Laura Hefley, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of City of Bowie, Councilor Precinct 1. City of Bowie, Councilor Precinct 1. Of the state of Texas. And will to the best of my ability. Preserve, protect,
said. Oh, you gotta redo it. It's okay. Sorry about that. All right, so the next item on the agenda will be new business. Approve the standard form of agreement between the City of Bowie and Gary Baker Construction for renovation at 307 North Mason, which is this building, and Bert has an update.
Well, we pretty much already done all of this, but, in fact, Shay had already worked over the contract and found it to be suitable, and I just thought, well, I'll scan it one more time, and so I read it, and I found out in the contract, that the wording said that the city would do the electrical wiring and the, take care of the HVAC, and the contract said plumbing, and I thought that word plumbing just stopped me dead in my tracks, and I thought, no, that's not correct. So I got on the phone and called the architect, and I said, this contract seems to be different, and I said, it says plumbing, and I said, we're not doing any plumbing, that's in the contract. They're supposed to redo the bathrooms and make them ADA compliant and everything, so at any rate, Gary Baker Construction, when they bid, they did not bid the plumbing part of it, the bathroom remodel. So anyway, I told the architect, I said, well, have him go back and rebid that, and if they're higher than the next bidder, then we'll go to the next bidder and see if he'll do his bid. And I said, find out if the other bidders all bid the plumbing, and sure enough they did. We went back to Gary Baker Construction and said, you didn't bid the plumbing, you need to give us a bid for the plumbing, and they did. And the original bid was, the base bid was $170,990. The plumbing addition is $31,000, so the current contract total is $201,990. That's still $15,000 below the next low bidder. So I've got the contract here tonight. It's up to the council what you want to do with this, but hopefully we can get this contract approved at that price and move forward.
So with this revised bid with the plumbing, we're still $15,000 less than the previous bid.
They're the closest.
Then the closest bid.
Next closest
Yes,
bid,
sir.
so.
Okay.
Just lucky that I caught it. That word plumbing just kind of stuck out at me, and sometimes I do something right, not
So-
very often.
Basically, we're asking for a motion to approve this contract, this additional $31,000 in it.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Love. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Bell. Buckmaster?
Aye.
Love?
Aye.
Malone? Bell? Higgins?
Have to abstain, I'm the other gentleman.
Would you like to vote, Ms. Hefley? You want to abstain? Okay, so then we have still 4. Let's go. We don't have any old business that I'm aware of, so if not, we will adjourn at 6:23. Thank you.